Hey, it's Vanessa and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm sharing with you 4 meals that I fed my blended family of 6 this week. So come along, grab a coffee, and let's make dinner. For Sunday, we had good old pork chops with roasted potatoes. Alright, so here I have some center cut pork chops. They're what we prefer just because there's less fat. I'm going to season them with some salt, pepper, and some garlic powder. I'm also taking a mom convenience and using some packaged gravy tonight. I have some russet potatoes that I'm going to roast up in my Ninja Foodi, and I'll season those with the keg chicken and rib spice, some minced garlic, just the jarred is fine, and some minced chopped dried onions. I'm also going to crack open a can of these beans. Ignore the corn, they didn't make the cut. First off, I'm going to go ahead and peel these potatoes. I wouldn't typically peel them when I'm roasting them in my Foodi, but these potatoes were pushing their last legs, as you can tell by the eyes on the skin. I absolutely love cooking them in my Foodi. I just find it so simple and foolproof. If you don't have a Foodi or an air fryer, you could absolutely do these in the oven. I would just cook them at around 425 for about 20 minutes, keeping a close eye until they get to the texture or the darkness that you would like. Now, what you decide to go with for seasoning is completely a personal preference. Anything would go good in here. I've used Montreal steak spice, oregano, depending on what kind of meal that you're having. In this instance, I just really like this keg chicken and rib spice, and I didn't want to use any real onions, so we went ahead and opted for the minced and of course the minced garlic. And like I always say, don't be afraid to get in there with your hands. They are the best tools that God gave us. Now, I started my air fryer before I started the potatoes so that it would have time to preheat, and I'm going to go ahead and set it at 18 minutes, but it actually only took 13. It really just depends on how thick you cut your potatoes, so just be sure to keep a close eye and giving them a little flip or just stirring them around at about the halfway point. I'm going to go ahead and add some vegetable oil and preheat my pan, because the trick to getting a good crust on your pork chop is to make sure your pan is nice and hot. I ended up making 2 packages of gravy because 1 cup just isn't enough. So 2 cups of water, 2 packs of gravy, heat it up. It really doesn't get much simpler than that. I went ahead and seasoned these with salt and pepper, and then I put them seasoned side down so that I can flip the other side while they're in the pan. You can see here everything's going nicely. My gravy is going in the background, and at this point I'm checking on my potatoes just to see what they look like, and everything looks great. A little trick that I like to do when I'm cooking chicken breasts or any meat in a pan like this, just to make sure it's cooked through, is to add about half a cup or a quarter cup of water and throw the lid on, and you'll see right here it absorbs, and it just makes sure that there's not going to be any pink left in the center. You see there, I laid everything out. The potatoes were done to perfection. Here's my plate: gravy, pork chop, roasted potatoes, and all the fixings. This was a delicious supper for Sunday night. For Monday, we have chicken kabobs on the barbecue with homemade tzatziki and a side of Greek salad. So if you saw my recent grocery haul, you'll know that they substituted these kabobs for a different brand that I wanted. They were okay, but still not perfect. So that's what we're doing tonight for supper. But I am going to go ahead and chop up everything to make a delicious Greek salad. We have some crumbled feta here and my favorite Renee's the creamy dressing for Greek salad. It's amazing. You guys should really try it out. So red onion, cucumbers, lettuce, tomato. Now I know they say you shouldn't chop lettuce with a steel knife, but I knew we were going to eat it right away, so I wasn't worried about it browning, and it really didn't, and it even lasted into the next day and the day after. I'm going to go ahead and chop everything up into bite-sized pieces. I have some nice Roma tomatoes that I got in my last grocery pickup order. Super pleased with the quality of the produce that they picked, by the way. I'm also going to cut up this cucumber. I leave the skins on an English cucumber. I find they're not very bitter. Sometimes a field cucumber, they can be a little bit stronger, but especially with Greek salad, I think it's nice to have the extra fiber. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more cucumber because frankly, it's my favorite. Now, to us, you can't have Greek salad without red onions. So I went ahead and added a pretty substantial amount because, like I said, that's just what makes a Greek salad for us.
What side? Come on, guys.
You just backed up like it's a TikTok or something.
All right, now that Jamie has everything he needs to barbecue, we are going to prepare this epicure tzatziki dip. Literally all you need is 2 cups of plain yogurt, thick or Greek is better, 1 cup of grated drained, so you want to squeeze all the juice out of your cucumber, and 3 tablespoons of the seasoning. For us here, I half the recipe, so it's 1 cup, 1.5 tablespoons, and half a cup. And yes, grating cucumber is very messy, or at least when I do it. Now, if you had a cheesecloth or even just a face cloth or something, that would probably work a little bit better. I'm just working with what I had at my fingertips, which was some paper towel. I just squeezed it until I couldn't get any more liquid out of it and dumped the mixture into the yogurt. At that point, I realized that I had put the full cup of cucumber when all I needed was half. So I'm going to go ahead and stir it all in and let it sit in the fridge to set up. And there it is. It looks so good, you guys, and this is great just to dip with vegetables. Amazing. Now, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
All right, we'll call him with any of your little
$12 is like a 2%.
That's crazy.
All right, you guys, here's our dinner for Monday night. Chicken kebabs, Greek salad, and homemade tzatziki. Perfection. All right, keep watching because tonight was a roast chicken dinner in the Ninja Foodi. All right, so what do you need to cook a roast chicken in the Foodi? First, you need a chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and season that with some of that bouillon seasoning, just some loose powder. I'm also gonna use some chicken broth because when you pressure cook, you need a liquid. I'm gonna use organic no salt seasoning, black pepper, garlic powder, and onion salt to season my chicken. I'm also gonna serve that with some mashed potatoes that I'll serve up with some butter. I'm gonna steam some broccoli and melt some Velveeta cheese and ignore the corn because yet again, it didn't make the cut. All right, here I'm just trying to get into this chicken, which apparently I have wrapped up quite well. I buy these in 2 or 3 packs at Costco and keep them in the freezer, and they're perfect for nights like this. And there's nothing better than a Foodi or a pressure cooker to roast your chicken at a last minute whim. I'm gonna go ahead and dump some of the organic no salt seasoning on there from Kirkland. Give it a try if you haven't, and some black pepper, and just rub it all over and make sure that it's kind of soaked in on the sides and on the top. added some garlic powder and now some onion powder, and I'm just going to make sure that that's rubbed in as well. I'm going to put it right into the air fryer basket. And I'm going to get my 1 cup of liquid. You could use water. I prefer to use chicken broth because I'm going to be using this to make a gravy, so why not add extra flavor? Pour that right into the bottom of your pressure cooker or your Foodi, whatever it is that you're using. And then I'm also going to sprinkle on one of those packets of the OXO chicken seasoning, and I should have put that into the bottom, but you'll see I'm making it work. I've shared this roast chicken recipe a couple times on my channel, but I feel like it's a staple and I just need to keep showing you. If you've never pressure cooked before, go ahead and set your pressure cooker to seal, set it on high, and we're gonna do this for 22 minutes. Once that's done, we're gonna air fry it for 8. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and prep my broccoli, and I just want to show you guys again because I absolutely love it. My little steamer basket, you get this at the dollar store, well, our dollar store, which was $4, but still, it's a great deal, and I've had every other contraption for steaming and everything else, but this is the best. It's foolproof. And because I'm sure you haven't seen me peel potatoes enough, I figured here's another clip for you. Now, as I'm getting down to the bottom of these potatoes, I'm realizing that there's way more pot than potatoes and less pot than broccoli. So I'm going to go ahead and do the old switcheroo. The water in the bottom was fine. It was just going to steam the broccoli. I can use it to cook my potatoes. All right, so potatoes are done. I'm gonna go ahead and season them with some salt. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot cook potatoes without salt. I notice the difference. And I'm gonna set my broccoli to steam, and I'm also gonna prepare about a 1/4 cup of Velveeta to melt in the microwave to pour over the broccoli. Now my mashed potatoes are super simple, butter or margarine, whatever I can get my hands on, pepper and a little bit of milk, and that's it. And in this instance, I will say they probably didn't need the milk because they were actually a little bit wet and less dry. So here I'm going to go ahead and do an instant release on this. I don't want it to sit in there any longer than it has to. Once that little red knob goes down, that means she's safe to open. So take a look at that. I mean, honestly, you could rip this up and shred it up to eat right away, but I'm going to roast it or air fry it because we're having this for dinner tonight and I love that delicious crispy chicken. So I'm also going to go ahead and try to preserve all of this juice. All I'm doing is pouring it into the roaster that I've set the chicken in. It's a production, but it made sense at the time when I did it. All right, so it's time to make the gravy. I'm just gonna add in an OXO seasoning pack. I probably could have strained some of the stuff that's in that gravy, but frankly, it's flavor and it was fine. I added about 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup more chicken broth. You could add more or less depending on how many people you have to feed. I'm also gonna go ahead and stream in a flour slurry, which is basically equal parts flour to water, and whisk it in quickly and make sure that it's boiling. This is the foolproof way that I've found to always make guaranteed delicious gravy every time. And not to toot my own horn, but I make good gravy. All right, you guys, here's the chicken. Tell me this is not picture perfect. It comes out this way every time. We have everything laid out. I've got my potatoes here. I always put a piece of paper towel to absorb any moisture when I put the lid on. Got my gravy roaring and my broccoli ready and my cheese is melted. Here's my plate. It was to die for. And to be able to have a meal like this in the middle of the week, it's perfect, you guys. I highly recommend it. If you don't have a Foodi, I highly recommend you go get one so you can make meals like this in the middle of the week. Now it's time for a regular you've seen on my What's for Dinners lots of times, classic shepherd's pie. The ingredients don't get much simpler than some ground beef, some russet potatoes, and a couple cans of cream corn. And of course, wouldn't be complete without yet another potato peeling montage. You're welcome. I know it's weird, but like when I watch videos like this, I love watching people chop things. So hopefully you guys enjoy this too. I enjoy editing it, so here we go. All right, so I have my handy dandy mix and chop from Pampered Chef here. I'm gonna go ahead and brown up that ground beef, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion, salt. That is all that I'm using to season this ground beef. You could do more or less if you want. You could add a can of cream of mushroom soup if you wanted to get really fancy, but we're just keeping it simple tonight. Did you see that? Did you see that? Yes, I opened the wrong side of the garlic powder and catastrophe. Luckily, I was able to save it and crisis was averted. Doesn't mean I don't need you. All right, so I wasn't sure if I had too much ground beef, but it turned out it was just right. I'm gonna go ahead and pour that to the bottom of my pot or my pan, crack open my 2 cans of creamed corn and pour them on top as well. And then once my potatoes are ready, I will add the 3rd layer. There's something different about us and the reason why we stay. I've shown in a previous video another way that I like to make this is to add peas and cream of mushroom soup to my ground beef and skip the corn and just do that with potatoes. That is super good too, you guys. A little less popular in my house, so I don't make it all the time. I'm gonna go ahead and mash my potatoes just like last time. A little bit of pepper, butter, and some milk. Now, I bet you thought that I had way too many potatoes. Well, here you go. This is all 5 pounds. Now, granted, it's probably a little thicker than most would like it, but this is just how we like it at our house because I'm a potato girl. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in the oven at 350 for about 40 minutes. I used a fork to get these nice brown crusted top like you see here. It was perfect. And you know what? It's going to be even better the next day with a little bit of ketchup. This was supper for Thursday night, and you guys, it was perfect. There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me for 20 minutes, taking a look at what I fed my family this week, and I hope you guys have a wicked weekend, and I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Take care. Sharing stories that we never had, yeah.